So I had to have that sort of mentality to just keep going and going, and ended up getting to 3 national finals. I would want my kids to come up in a household like that where we're not really struggling, but I can give them what they want and my wife what I want to. I am seeing a lot of changes from the amateur side to the professional side, whereas I'm not as jumpy or as my work rate's a lot slower now, so it's quite nice to be surrounded with people with the same vision and mindset as I am. Otherwise, I think if that wasn't the case, then I would be in a very deep hole right now.
Okay, so welcome to the first episode of the Legal Blows podcast, proudly sponsored by Emaan Relief, our charity partner. Big shout out to brother Shazad and the team at Emaan Relief, who are doing some great work supporting really good causes all around the world. So my name's Adil Hussain and I'm the founder of Legal Blows. In each episode here, we're going to delve into the world of boxing and hear from not only the boxers, but from all those unsung heroes who live and breathe this sport. So without further ado, I want to really welcome our first guest, someone who needs no introduction. This is a 5 times national champion, 7 times GB champion, and 1 time European champion. Without further ado, welcome Harris Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me. You've been a great host and I'm very honoured to be the first person on your podcast.
It's great to have you here, Harris, and honestly I'm really excited to welcome you not only to my home but to the Legal Blows family. I think everybody in the game knows about your calibre. 200 or so amateur bouts, 160 victories. You know, mashallah, that's an amazing feat that you've got there. But before we go on to the boxing side of it, Harris, I just want to get to know you a bit better as well. So it'd be really good just to hear a bit more about yourself, where you're from in the UK, experiences growing up as a child, and then we'll move on to the boxing side of things.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's dwell into this.
Yeah, so tell me, where are you from in the UK, Harris?
I'm from Bradford, which is just a small city up north. It's not like the most big city, but it's a very nice one where everyone knows each other and you just get everyone there, and we all work really well together.
Yeah, well, we love Bradford. I've got a sister up there and family there as well. So, and I know the Bradfordians, they love their boxing. And actually, pretty much all of Yorkshire love their boxing. So, how do you see yourself representing Bradford and being someone who, you know, the people in Bradford can get behind?
Yeah, like you said, Bradford is massive on his boxing, UFC, MMA, like that sort of sports, and well, hopefully I want to be the first one to really excel from that city. We don't really have many role models, shall I say, coming up from the city, being an inspiration for the young and the youth out there, so I would love to be one of the first to do it.
Yeah, and we're going to touch upon some of that and the platform that you have and inshallah will have going forward and how you can inspire that next generation. Tell me a bit about the family, siblings, are you married? Tell us a bit more about that side of things.
No, I'm not married, but inshallah could be very soon.
Inshallah.
Well, I got one sister. She never really got into boxing. She went more towards the study route. So she she went to uni and now she's doing her masters in psychology.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I'm very proud of her.
Mashallah.
And hopefully she can do something from there. Like the violent stuff, they can just leave it to me.
Yeah.
I can just be the one protecting her.
Yeah, definitely. And I know from previous interviews I've seen, your father's played a key role in getting you into boxing. I think someone visited the butcher shop and it went from there. So do you want to just expand on that a bit more?
Yeah, so I was around 9 years old, well, just almost to my 9th birthday, and I used to do a lot of other sports. So I did like jiu-jitsu, like karate and stuff like that. So my dad always kept me kind of motivated with sports, like that kind of sports. Like football, I could never get into football. I had 2 left feet, so I could never kick the ball straight. So we ended up just looking around, and the first ever coach I had, he came to my dad's got a butcher shop, because that was like the family run business.
Right.
He would just do the meats and stuff all day and night and just keep working through there. And my first ever coach, he came through the butcher shop, And he just got chatting to my dad, and he's like, "Oh yeah, bring the kid down to the boxing club. Let's see what we can do with him." Because I wasn't in the best of shape. I was still kind of a chubby little lad.
I can't believe that.
I was a chubby little lad, and I first started to get boxing. And I was terrible. I was terrible when I first started. I ended up in my first 10 fights, I lost 50% of them. So I lost 5, won 5, and
Right.
I was on a very I didn't have the best start to my boxing career. And then I ended up, I got to the national final, but that's just because I was out of weight and no one else was. So I ended up getting to the national final, not having to box anyone, but got only to box one person in the national final. And I got really beat up, let's say.
Right.
So I got really beat up, and
Wow.
it gave me the motivation to lose weight.
Right.
So I ended up losing about 14 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah, I lost 14 kilos when I was like 12, 13, thinking I was just a mess. And yeah, and then it really started to get going from there when I lost the weight and started to get my footwork better, my boxing better,
Yeah.
and everything started to come with it.
And we're going to touch upon that again. I'm really keen to see
Yeah.
how that sort of the amateur side progressed. But just taking a step back, it sounds like it was, the motivator was maybe the weight, and you accomplished the weight loss. Were you a naughty child? Because a lot of the fighters that we know and speak to will always say we had a lot of energy, we were naughty at school, and the father put the child into a gym
Yeah.
just to discipline and to use up that energy. So what were you? Were you a naughty child, Harris?
I don't think naughty is the right word. I think excited is a word.
Right.
Because I was very full of energy. My dad,
Okay.
what he used to do is before, when I was a lot younger, before I'd go to bed, he would send me off into the park, and he would just sit there whilst I just run myself tired, and it would last for like half an hour to an hour, and then I would just go home and just put myself to sleep. But in school, like if we're talking like school-wise, I didn't do too bad, but I did get a lot of disciplinaries.
Any fights?
Nah,
School
never
fights,
in
no
a
fights.
fight actually.
Okay. Okay.
Never in a fight. I was very good at avoiding a fight, but
Right.
I used to get into a lot of arguments with the teachers. So me and the teachers had a lot of vocal
Verbals.
fights. Yeah, a lot of vocal fights, and I would get sent out of a lesson a lot. Like there was one math lesson where I don't even think I went 5 minutes in the lesson without being sent out like for a week. So yeah, but I ended up doing all right. Like I
Yeah.
put my head down when I needed to do, and
Yeah.
ended up smashing out my maths, English, and science. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But then I just decided to education wasn't really for me. Like touching on my sister again, like
Yeah.
she was a lot better with it.
Yeah.
So I ended up just sticking through boxing.
Okay. And you mentioned your father a few times now. What does your father mean to you, and having his support, and even with your sister, getting her through school, college, university, that's, as a parent, we know how much we want to see all of our kids do well in whatever field they're in. So what does your family, what does your father and your mother mean to you?
So my dad, he really grinded us with the boxing, and he tried more than anyone else have in my life, like to help me with this boxing dream. My mom, she's never watched me box. She hates the even like the thought of me getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
Like she's very supportive, but
Yeah.
she wishes I did something different. But that's just because she's a mum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
of course.
And I'm a first son, so she just hates the thought of it. But my family have been very supportive. Like my dad, my uncle, my grandma, my granddad, they've always been very supportive, and they've been there whenever I needed them. My dad, whenever I boxed in England, my dad would be there like no matter what, and family would always turn up, and that's what I'm really grateful for, that I had a really good support system going into the boxing, because there wasn't times when it was always ups. There was a lot of downs that came with it, and it was nice to have a support system to come back to, rather than just me being by myself and with my own thoughts.
Yeah, 100%. I think we always say this and hear it, that it's only a father who will want his son or daughter to do better than himself, and I, as a parent, I think I 100% agree with that. So it's great to have that sort of family support throughout your career to date. And now just moving on, I guess, to the boxing scene. So you talked about your first national where you got sort of beat up, but tell me, how did it progress? Because isn't it quite easy to sort of you get to the final, you get beat up, in your words, to say, you know what, this isn't for me, or I'm done. What was the thought process when you had that fight and your feelings after it?
I I just had to keep going. Like, I didn't have that sort of sense in me where I thought, oh, I haven't won this, I'm just going to quit. So luckily I've always had that sort of mentality, and that was more through my dad, because I would see my dad constantly just work, and he don't even like butchering, but he had to do it because he had to sustain me and the family and be a provider. So I had to have that sort of mentality to just keep going, and I ended up getting to 3 national finals. So after that one, where I got really beat up, ended up boxing every way through the next tournament, the next national final tournament, and I boxed through every stage, and I got to the final only to lose again. Same again the year after, so I lost 3 national finals, and then I ended up getting picked to represent England at the 3 Nation tournament, which is Wales, England and Scotland. That we all send like if you're not hosting, you send one champion to represent the country, but if you're hosting, you get to send the final and finalist. And I had honoured to represent England there, so I won my first 3 Nation title before I won my first national title, and it just sent more hunger down me, because I ended up winning the national title after that, and I didn't end up losing in England for a long time after that.
Was that victory unexpected? Did you go into that knowing that you would win, or really confident about winning, or did it take you a bit by surprise?
I always had confidence in my ability, because I always thought, oh, I know how good I am. Yeah. It's just whether I turn up on the day or not. Yeah. I'm always a nervous wreck. Like when I was at that age, I was a nervous wreck before getting into the ring, and it was hard to cope with such the atmosphere and what was on the line. So I used to be so nervous going in the ring.
I can only imagine.
I know, it's a horrible feeling. Yeah. It is horrible walking down that little runway to get to the ring. Yeah. But as soon as you get in the ring, all nerves, all emotions just leave your system.
Do you manage to block it out? Does the crowd or the environment
the crowd doesn't. You hear the odd voice that you're familiar with, either your coach or your parents in the crowd, but every other voice is silent. It's just you, your glove, and your opponent, and there's a beauty in it. I don't think a lot of people see it. A lot of people see boxing as such violence. I see it more like a dance. Whoever's got the better rhythm wins the fight normally.
That's interesting. I've never heard it as that before, but I can see what you mean.
It's just a perception, like perspective. Sorry. Yeah. Like people see it all with the punches and stuff like that, but it's really not. There's a lot more beauty to it, I think.
And what I think Lennox calls it, the sweet science, and all that. So obviously, now you've won the title, and again, I think very confident. You know how good you are. But did you at that stage imagine that you would go on to win 5? Nationals, 7, GB titles, and the European. So is that what you knew that you were capable of, and you could see that on the wall?
I always wanted more. Like, I've never had the satisfaction of just winning the national title or just winning one fight. I've always wanted more and more and more. And even if we're talking on a European level, I ended up representing England in the Europeans twice before I even won a medal, and I won my first European medal as a youth, as a 17-year-old, and I got a really bad decision against the Russian in the final. And even that, I was thinking, I need this title. I ended up going to represent England/GB again 3 occasions before I won the gold out there. I think it's just resilience, and I always had the dream that I wanted this one thing, and then I wanted more, and I just wanted to chase it more than anything. And my dad, being the biggest supporter he is, he helped me throughout this dream, like no matter what.
Yeah, so the success made you even more hungry, I guess, and you wanted to achieve even more. So enough's not enough. You want to keep on going.
I always had that, and then I just wish I got to do a bit more as an amateur. Yeah. Like, I know I've got a unbelievable record and titles and stuff like this, but I just wish I would have done more, or had the more opportunity to do more too.
And that's the sign of, I think, the mindset of a champion, always not being content and wanting to achieve even higher and greater things, even though you've had an amazing amateur career.
Yeah, and all the stuff I couldn't win as an amateur, I want to do it as a pro now. Yeah. So the world title, that's definitely one thing on my mind, and that's really what I want to aim for.
And we're going to come on to what the next steps are, but I've seen already, Harris, you're taking a lot of pride about the fact that you represented England and GB, and everybody's seen what's been going on recently, and the unrest we've seen in the UK, with Muslims being targeted, the subcontinent, Pakistani, Asian communities being targeted. Of someone who's represented your country, Is there a message that you would want to put out to the haters, the people who sort of think people like you and I don't deserve to be here, aren't British, don't share common values with them? What would you say to these people?
I mean, I don't get how they can say it to someone like me when I've represented the country on such a big level. Like, I've done a lot for this country. I've brought so many so many medals, gold medals. I've won so many fights, represented GB. And to go further back, my great granddad, he represented at India at the time, and he fought World War One and Two. So he fought also for the freedom of this country, and he's got all the medals to prove his honour. So I don't get how someone can come up to me and say I don't belong here, when in fact my family bloodline come from someone who fought for the freedom of everyone in this country also. So I think people just need to mind their own business, do what they need to do, and worry about themselves rather than other people coming in and doing what they need to do.
Yeah, it's almost as we're seen as scapegoats, where, like you just mentioned, you've given so much to this country.
Yeah.
In many respects, added so much to the team GB with all your titles across the globe, right? So that's something we as Brits should also always be proud of. Of course, we've got our heritage. I know you come from a Pakistani subcontinent heritage, which I'm sure you're proud about, but at the end of the day, as you said, you're a Brit, and that's what makes you proud.
On my passport.
Yeah, 100%. So now, moving on with this illustrious amateur career, what's the plans now? Where are you in your thinking? Are we going to see Harris, the Hurricane Akbar, turn pro?
Yeah, well, I'm there. I'm just in the process of signing contracts, getting that a bit over the road, getting my license, and inshallah I should be doing my pro debut before the end of the year.
Inshallah, that's amazing news, and I know that's going to excite everybody. We're going to really look forward to seeing you making your debut under the bright lights. And if I may, where are you in terms of, we've talked about family support, and what we've seen, and I've seen in the past year or so, is fighters need to have a good team around them. So it would be just good for the viewers to understand how you went about assembling your team, your management team, where you are with potential promoters, and how you're going to go about doing that side of things.
Well, on that side, I would first like to say a big up to, obviously, League of Blowers for supporting me and helping me out through my journey. And a big shout out to my managers, Katia and Mike, who are also very resilient in what I want from contracts and what I want from the next step of my life. So I couldn't be anywhere without these guys, and wherever the future holds, I'm going to be with you guys as well. So we'll always be fighting each other's corners. And if we're talking within pro contracts, I've got a couple promotions in mind, but like I said, we're just waiting to see what comes in and see who's the right fit, really.
Yeah, okay, no, it's brilliant. I think, again, everybody who loves boxing will say boxing is a beautiful sport, it's a beautiful game, but a lot of people will also say boxing is a dirty business, and you've got to get the right people, like we've talked about, around you, who are looking after the best interests of no one else but, in your case, Harris Akbar. Yeah. So how do you go about when you're assembling your team and when you're deciding which promoter you're going to go for? How do you gauge the trust? How do you gauge the levels of commitment that your management team will have, even Legal Blows will have towards you, and your promoter will have? Because, as I said, you hear these stories and you sort of think, step back, and you want to make sure that it's all about Harris Akbar. So how do you get comfortable with the people you're working with?
I think for starters, you got to have a little faith in the people you choose, but you can tell a lot from the first signs. And if usually you get a little sign that, this isn't the one for me, or that's not the one for me. And choosing out the managers and obviously Legal Blows, I didn't really have that. I know full well what you guys bring to the table, how you treat other people, how you treat me. And I have full faith in you guys, and luckily you can just leave the boxing to me. I know the hard part you guys can do.
I wish we were doing the hard part, but we won't dream to do that. Boxing, it's an incredibly tough sport, and what you guys do is amazing. And you've kindly sort of said you've given us an opportunity to work with you, and we're grateful to welcome you to the LB family. And it's a two-way thing, isn't it? I think it's trust both ways. And what we've seen, again, the boxing side, that's the hardest bit. What we and your management team, I'm sure we're all aligned here. We want you to do well in the ring, and everything outside, you want your team to take care of and do what they're good at doing. And on that sort of note, what would be sort of good to understand, Harris, is where do you see yourself now? You've turning pro, you're going to get your promotion. We talked about world titles. Where do you see yourself? How do you see your career unfolding? Are we going to see Harris in big fights, dangerous fights, day one? Or are we going to see you mold yourself, adapt to the professional game?
Yeah, with that as well, adapting and the moldability, I would also like to give a big shout out to Steel City and Grant Smith, who took me on as a boxer in his gym, and I'm very grateful because of the background and prospects he's already got at his gym, and he's taken the time to work with me too, and I have full trust in him to see not only the vision but to see what kind of boxer I would be to bring in the most world titles or titles as possible. And we're talking dangerous fights. What is a dangerous fight? Dangerous fights are usually 50-50. I wouldn't like to put myself in a competition with myself where I see myself 50-50 in a fight. I would like to give myself 100% and go into every fight confident and knowing it's not going to be dangerous because I'm going to be on my best boxing ability. And again, I like to shout that out back up to Steel City, who I know will look after me in that sense, and we can go forward in the professional ranks and bring in the best for both of us and bring in what's the best for both of us too.
Yeah, no, and absolutely, and it's sort of, I won't say slow and steady, but you let your team decide and bring you up the way they feel best and what's suited for you.
Yeah, and Grant being the coach he is, like, he's gone great stable of boxers, and his stable of boxers shout out for themselves, and he got coach of the year as well a couple of years ago, so he's more than trustworthy in this position.
And how does, you talk about Grant and the coach, how does the coach and even your stable of fighters around you, how do they help develop that mindset? It seems like you've already had that mindset from your first national where you lost, saying I'm not going to give up, I'm going to carry on. But that mindset, you can be a really good boxer, but you've got to be strong mentally as well, right? I would have thought, to succeed in this game.
Yeah, because like you said, we all go through ups and downs, and it's the people that we are surrounded with that really help us. And outside of family, I got surrounded with a lot of good friends in Team GB, where I was previously, and I remember there was one occasion where the team wasn't doing as well as it could, and we all had a bit of a downer. But that's what we do. We just constantly message each other and checking up on each other, seeing how we are, and it kind of motivates you to put yourself back in a good place, and motivates you to put yourself in a good place, to put yourself in a position to box really well, and just invest time in yourself. Invest time in yourself and your boxing, and just make yourself better. But I think that's really good as well, just to have a good social group outside of family. And at Grant Steel City as well, the boxers there, their mentality is the same as mine. So we can see that in each other, and it's just a matter of being there for each other and helping each other through every ups and downs.
100%. And again, on that sort of having that good company around you, in around the boxing world, tell me a bit about outside the boxing world, because again, we're living in an environment where we see all sorts of things happen, from drug abuse, from domestic abuse, from all the negativity around the society that we live in. What makes Harris stay focused and not being distracted? So your boxing is one thing, and you spend a lot of time in the gym training, but outside that, when you're not with family, when you're on your own, what sort of goes in your mind? How do you keep away from some distractions, let's just call them that, that may be there, which may tempt you and distract you from what you want to achieve?
See, I live a very chill lifestyle, shall I say. So it gets boring for some people, but it wouldn't get really boring for me, because outside of boxing, I don't really like to do much. So it'll be on the PlayStation, or I'll be out with my friends. Like a lot of my friends, what they like to do is they keep active in sports too. So a lot of them are MMA fighters, or they like to go for hikes, or they go gym, and they just pray. That's all they do. That's all we do. So it's quite nice to be surrounded with people with the same vision and mindset as I am. Otherwise, I think if that wasn't the case, then I would be in a very deep hole right now.
And we've just I know you just finished your Zohar and Asr Salah. How important is just keeping to your prayers, keeping grounded? You've talked about this before in the previous interview, about how Islam humbles you when you're doing your sujood, your foot on the ground. But a lot of it, sometimes from the outside, these guys, they're doing this, it's clickbait, they're doing it for the cameras. What does religion mean to you? What does Islam mean to you?
It's a peace of mind, that's all it is. Like, there's just a level of peace and stress relief which a lot of things can't get. It's like walking in the nature, like by yourself. It's quite nice, and it clears your mind really well, especially when with boxing the sport it is, and with how like your life is 100 miles per hour outside of this. In the boxing world, in the gym, in the runs, it's 100 miles per hour. So it's nice to get away from it, and even if it's like 10 minutes of namaz, it's clear mindset. And it's nice. The very underrated thing with prayer is that it comes in a routine, so there's certain times for it, and so you've already got that. It's just nice to keep with the routine and having that 10-minute break every couple hours or hour and a half. So it's an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, brilliant. And tell me now, sort of just moving on a bit, when we've talked about boxing and we've talked about your aspirations and world titles, that's exactly what you do. I want to talk a bit about the stuff outside, not related to boxing per se. We understand that boxers want to fight for titles and for glory, but again, as an outsider, someone in the business world, and we've had this conversation slightly earlier, for me, when I see fighters, like yourself, living your life the way you do, surely there's got to be an element of, I want to make some money from this sport as well, and financially secure yourself. So what's the motivation? Titles and becoming financially secure, or is it one or the other?
I think it's both, and the third one. To me, one of the biggest things is I want to be financially, support my family as well. So, and the family to come as well. So get married and have kids, and boxing is a great way to do it, and to win titles and get more money is a great way to provide, not for me but for the next generation too. And I would want my kids to come up in a household like that where we're not really struggling, but I can give them what they want, and my wife what I want too.
Yeah, and 100%. As I said, it's sort of just rewards for all the effort that you put in, I guess, and it's right and absolutely fair that happens. And as you climb the ladder, and hopefully bigger purses, bigger sponsorships deals, and that's what we're trying to help on that side of things as
bigger
well.
Sponsors, bigger house, better car.
100%, and because that's why you do it. As I said, the titles, they don't put bread on the table, right?
Nah, they collect dust. They collect dust, as Floyd Mayweather says. They collect dust. You can cash your check in though.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, Harris, in terms of as you move forwards, one of the things as Legal Blows we're really keen to do is work with fighters who are going to represent, are going to be role models, are going to inspire. Is that something that's important to you? Would you want to use your platform to inspire the next generation, to act as a role model, to set an example for the younger generation? So not my kids now, but my grandchildren or people with younger kids will say, yes, look at Harris, look at so-and-so. He's a fighter, he's a good role model, he's a good person. We want to encourage our children to get into boxing as well.
Yeah, of course, because the next generation really are the next world champions too. So imagine the next world champion in 30, 40 years saying, I looked up to Harris Akbar when I was just a kid upcoming. I think it'd be unbelievable. Like, that sort of inspiration only comes to a couple of people. So yeah, I think that's what it is, to do all this, to be the best as I possibly am, not just for me but for the next people, the next upcoming world champions, not even probably the next upcoming world champions. I would like to be an inspiration to people in grassroots just to get into a boxing gym, because it'd be an unbelievable experience for people to miss out on. People are too scared to get hit in the face. For real, people are too scared to hit. It's not the worst thing. People don't realize body shots are worse, but the headshots aren't too bad. But people should go in and experience it, because it gets you less scared of things. It gets you a lot less scared of things, and it makes you realize the person that you are. So I think it'd be great to have that inspiration on someone. Yeah,
and I think we talked about Bradford and Yorkshire who love their boxing. There's a big British Pakistani community there, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you're going to be in the community, grassroots level, helping, inspiring, getting involved in local, sort of the local events, right? Because ultimately, we were talking about this, you could fill up Bradford Stadium at one point. We really want you to fight in Anfield, by the way, because we're both Liverpool fans, I know that. But on that side of things, again, getting that support, getting in the community, I think that's how you're going to give back, right? To and inspire by getting involved, being a champ of the people, as it were?
Yeah, actually one of my biggest dreams outside of boxing is opening my own gym in Bradford to get more people revolved around sports and to do that. I think after being a champion, the next biggest thing is to make one. And I think that'd be just as an equivalent, probably even better, to make my own champion and have my own people coming into the gym and saying I train under him, and I think it'd be unbelievable. And have them something inspired, you know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
And the Harris Akbar legacy continues, right? You've done your career, and it's great to see that vision already, that you're already thinking about how you're going to give back and inspire the next gen. Again, moving on now, you talked about, people looking up to Harris Akbar and being that role model. Which fighters have inspired you? So I guess that's one question. Who's inspired you? And then related to that, I guess, is who's your favourite boxer of all time?
Of all time? I'll go to the first one.
Yeah,
the first one's a lot easier to answer.
The inspire one. Okay, who's inspired you? Which fighters inspired you? Yep.
But I think we touched on this earlier when we were just sat down eating as well. But there was this, as an amateur, there was this one boxer from Kazakhstan, and in 2012, he was the best boxer in the Olympics by like miles, like very clearly. And there was the likes of Lomachenko, there was Usyk there was Joshua there, Luke Campbell, and the list just goes on. But he was a 69 kilo Kazakh. And I'm a big fan of the Soviet style, and the way he just boxes and the way he flows through the ring. I've never seen anything like it, and I always looked to him as an inspiration, because I thought if there's one boxer that I would look up to and I would like to be like, is him, because he's just so effortless. It's like when we go back to like boxing's like a dance, that's what I always pictured in my head, would be like him. But as an inspiration in boxing, it would be him. But as I tell you what though, the biggest motivator as not just a boxer but as a person was Muhammad Ali, who just happened to be a boxer too. And him, I think just what he did in the ring, like to be an Olympic gold medalist and a world champion, to lose it, to come back up and win it again, and the humanitarian he was as well. I think it's very, very hard to find, because it's very hard to find a person like that. And I think as a person, he motivates me a lot to be a lot better as well, because just his achievements, they just speak for themselves, and the backing he had for the people and the inspiration he was for the people, you probably never see anything like it again.
He was special.
He was one of the only few people I would say were bigger than boxing, because boxing is a big sport and he's bigger than boxing. And as I said, I've never watched Muhammad Ali live. He was just before my time as I was growing up, but everybody knows of Muhammad Ali and what he's done outside of the ring, and Allah bless his soul. And I guess one more question, if I may, is we talked about this again earlier a bit. The Misfits boxing is really taken off. Some people sort of criticize it, say it's not really boxing, it's purely entertainment. What's your take on the Misfits? I don't get
boxing?
how people can criticize it when it's bringing so much money into boxing. It's bringing new funds, new money into boxing, and it's getting all what the newer boxers deserve. They're getting the money that they deserve. The bigger boxers, the money they deserve, is bringing new types of people into boxing, and it's giving a new platform to people who can't box. Get them into a boxing training regime, getting them onto a social, even like boxers are coming onto this Misfits boxing, and they're getting paid, they're getting the publicity that they getting from it, and it's unbelievable. I think it's unreal. And even though it's not the highest level of boxing, but to bring those sort of funds and money into boxing is what a task. Is it Jake Paul that does it? That owns it. Misfits. What a fantastic task that he's done. He's done an unbelievable task with it. I think it's well deserved to all the boxers on there.
And it's great, isn't it? How, again, as you said, new eyes to boxing. More bums on seats, and it's great. More fans, I guess.
People are realizing how great the boxing world is, because it's unbelievable. It's very entertaining.
Boxing is an entertainment game at the end of the day. You've got to entertain. So when we see Harris, first pro fight, what's the ring walk going to be like? What's the get up going to be like? Just walk us through.
You just want all the insights. You're going to have to stay tuned like everyone else.
Okay. Oh, man. I thought we were going to get some inside information here. Okay, so that's going to be a surprise.
It's going to be a surprise.
So, okay, we leave the ring walk. We leave the fight kit. But fighting style, let's talk about that. Are we going to see someone who's doing the dancing, the showboating, the skills inside? Or are we going to see someone who's just going out to knock someone's head off, no hold bars. How are you gonna? What's the fighting style, and how are you gonna make these statement performances?
See, I'm not really a ruthless fighter. When I'm in there, I like having fun. I'm a master of millimeters. Do you know what I mean? See, this is what I mean. So there's a lot of fighters people look at, they forget the craftsmanship. Ben Whitaker being a prime example, he's having fun in there, but he's very well at working millimeters and centimeters. He's always within range of punching and hurting people, and that's kind of like how I like to back myself. Like, even though I'm nowhere near as flashy as Ben, I like to back myself up where I'm also like, I work very good with range. So yeah, and I got a lethal left hand, so we'll see how people take it and people put up with it.
So the power's there,
and the boxing skill.
And the
Forgot
boxing
to mention
skill.
that.
It's the whole package, right?
Yeah, I would hope so. I would hope people like to think so.
And when you're going in and you're before a fight, you're just about to touch gloves with your opponent. Is the mindset just to have fun in there and see how things go, showcase your skills?
Yeah.
But the opportunity arises, you're not going to hesitate to take someone out.
Yeah, I think the biggest part is showcasing skills, showcasing myself to the world and showing people how good I really am. And if the opportunity does come, I hope I can put them to sleep.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I could. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. And it's the left hand that's going to cause the damage.
Could be both. We'll
Could
see
be
how
both.
it goes.
Let's see. Oh, brilliant. Okay, Harris. I think on the we've touched upon this previously, but I really want to perhaps delve into the sort of strategy as well now going forward. So you mentioned the management team. You mentioned your coach. We know you're transitioning now from the amateur to the pro scene. Going forwards, what in terms of the regime you have, you've obviously been boxing since you were really, really young. What's going to change now that you're going into the professional game? Is anything going to change?
I wouldn't say a lot's going to change. Like I said before, I have full trust in Grant and Steel City to adapt me and mold me into the best possible professional boxer I could be. I am seeing a lot of changes from the amateur side to the professional side, whereas I'm not as jumpy or as my work rate's a lot slower now, so that's something I'm really enjoying. Actually, I'm really enjoying to see how I'm going to look in a couple of months, like as a boxer. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, just putting my trust in Grant and Steel City in to put me as the best possible boxer I could potentially be.
And you mentioned before, during the amateurs, but maybe the early stages of your amateur career, the nervous wreck that you were before you coming out to a fight.
Yeah, I'm not like that anymore.
You're not anymore like that
you learn
anymore.
to deal with it a lot better. Now I just look at it like it's business. It's just me and some guy in the ring.
And is that that sort of nervousness, maybe because you're not so sure of yourself early stage? Now we know, and how good you are. So you're going in there, no 50-50, I'm going to win, full stop.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely give him 110%. I'll go in there and just give absolutely everything.
Really good to have you on our first ever podcast. So thank you once again for coming and visiting us, spending some time to get to know you better. Hopefully the audience will get to know you better now, and we just can't wait to see you in action now under the big lights, and we're looking forward to following your journey and supporting and doing what we can to help in this process, and creating some lovely memories together, hopefully.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to be on here.
Well, thank you. So that's a wrap, guys. It's our first podcast with Harris Akbar. Watch out for him. Inshallah, he's going to make big waves in this professional game, and hopefully see you all soon.